That's what they've been saying, you see.
Wait till the next generation.
There you'll find your identity.
Wait till the next generation.
We're gonna be ready to take a stand.
Wait till the next generation.
And take control of the life that's in your hands. All along the road, freedom and democracy, gaining moral strength, wisdom and stability. There's gonna be a victory for the common man, a vast awakening all across the land, all across the land.
Wait till the next generation.
Apathy's gonna be hard to
Wait till the
find.
next generation.
We're gonna select the things that go into our
Wait
mind.
till the next generation.
We're gonna shape our own destiny.
Wait till the next generation.
And alter the face of history. All along the road, freedom and democracy, gaining moral strength, wisdom and stability. There's gonna be a victory for the common man, a vast awakening all across the land, all across the land.
Wait till the next generation.
This I want you to
Wait till the
understand.
next generation.
I ain't gonna
Wait till the next generation.
cause
This is the next generation, man. Just give yourselves a round of applause for waking up under one of those cozy colors and coming out on today. My name is is Tamika Miller-Ockman, and I serve as the chair of the Lowndes County Democratic Party. We would like to welcome you to the great, vivacious city of Valdosta, Georgia, to those who are visiting. We would like to say to you, we welcome you at any time. If there is someone who is not a part of the local party, we would love for you to sign in. Our wonderful secretary, none other than Kathleen Hodges, is here. Well, she can get your information so that you can be a part of our email chain, which is called MailChimp. And so we would love for you to come out with us the first Monday of every month, 6:30. So we have a meeting on Monday, 6:30 p.m. at the Children's Destiny Event Center, 1903 North Barack Obama Boulevard. Now, yay! And if I could say one thing, I was reminded of how many of you love basketball? Love basketball. And you know, once they end the Final Four and everything, and they have a culmination of those whole 64 teams that made it, they sing this song, or they play this song called One Shining Moment. And I want to let South Georgia know that this is one shining moment. We did it November of last year by electing 2 Dems into the PSC, and knowing that most of South Georgia went blue. That is an accomplishment. That is an accomplishment. One shining moment. We're going to do it again this November. We're going to do it again. Give ourselves a round of applause because we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. And I will be remiss if I did not recognize these great forerunners in the room that are helping lead the fight to the blue wave. Blue wave, everybody say blue wave.
Blue wave.
Blue wave.
Blue wave.
Third time's the charm, the blue wave.
Blue wave.
And it's coming forth in November.
Yes.
So if you are on the local level, we have Dems, the chair of the Brooks County Dems, if you could please stand.
Maxwell.
All right. I think the chair of the TIF Dems is chair of TIF Dems, that you are the city council as well. Yes. Stand, raise your hand. And also, I have other people, but I also have a wonderful executive committee. Kathleen Hodges, who's our secretary. Joe Brown Evans, who's our vice chair of membership. Our money lady, none other than our treasurer, Iris Brown. Our vice chair of membership of elections is here, first vice chair. That's David Gilliard. Yay for David. And we have our local officials that are here. We have none other than Vivian Cody,
All right.
City Council. And we want to give a big shout out. Any other city officials, government officials that I missed?
Brooks County.
Brooks County. Brooks County, okay. Are there any other Dems from other counties? If you could just raise your hand as well.
Thomas County.
Thomas County, yay!
Tiff County.
Tift County. Brooks County. Chatham County. All right. And we have none other than Big Nick Harden, who is the gracious host of this beautiful restaurant. But not only is he an entrepreneur, but he is the city council at large for the city of Valdosta. So let's just thank Nick for opening up his doors early this morning because they didn't close until 2 a.m. But we want you to know that you are welcome here. We will have food in a little while. And now we will have the Vice Chair of Qualifying, who will come and give our occasion, none other than Vice Chair Christina Cheek.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christina Cheek. I'm Vice Chair of Qualifying Miles County Dems. Welcome to Valdosta. So good to see everybody here. We have a great event here, and I hope you are ready for what is to come and hear from these wonderful candidates who are seeking office. To my left, I wanted to introduce Dr. Kelly Esty, who is running for the U.S. House Georgia District 8 for Congress. And we have Mr. Otha Thornton, who is running for State Superintendent, and Mr. Richard Wright, who is running for Governor. Again, welcome to Miles County. Lieutenant Governor, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Not too many of them already.
Oh, one more thing. I forgot to mention our wonderful Congressional Age District Chair, none other than Adrian Rivers. Let's give him a round of applause.
And if I may, can I call Mr. J. Jones, CPUS, and please?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Y'all hear me in the back?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Before the food is being prepared, I appreciate everybody for coming here. It's important for us to actually see the candidates when they come in action. And it makes it easier for me to bring other candidates down here. Me and Adrian, I serve as the first congressional district chair for Savannah, Chatham County, all the way down to Camden County. And it's a blessing to actually be here in front of a group of people who are interested in finding out who wants to be the leadership up there. And so when we have these conversations here, it makes it where more people will be more invited to come down to Valdosta, Georgia. Because Valdosta, Georgia deserves to hear hear from candidates just like anybody else in the state. And so with that being said, the food is ready. I can go ahead and bless. If we all bow our heads, I'll go ahead and say the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together in unity. Let us hear a word from those people who who want to serve us and serve us proudly. Let us make sure our minds are open and clear to ask the questions we need to ask of these candidates, because they travel so far away from their own home to make sure that they can be a blessing to those people who chose to be here on Saturday. Let's bless the food that we have before us, dear Heavenly Father, because we understand the nourishment of our body makes our minds more clear, more thought-provoking, and more thought into what we want to do and what we want to provide in this world. In this we pray, amen. Amen. Well, what we'll do right now during this time is I'm going to ask the candidates, while we were back there having our conversation before we interrupted our conversation, I'm going to ask these three candidates to go ahead and walk around and make sure they greet the table one more time while we get this space up, okay? Thank you. So I'm putting it back in y'all hands. It's y'all time to get on the grind and knock on these doors. It's at the table. All right, thank y'all.
So they can put on their web.
We're going to have our first candidate come forward. While you go ahead and continue to eat, he's going to give about a 10-15 minute conversation about why he's running and all that good stuff. If you could, what we're going to do is we're going to go and order him, then Richard, and then Oka in that order. And then after that, if it's time left, we're going to ask questions. So Dr. Kelly Esty, I want to make sure I got it right, y'all. Dr. Kelly Esty is coming before you. He's running for U.S. Congress, Georgia District 08. Let's give him a hand.
Everybody hear me without the mic? Y'all hear me?
Use the mic, please.
So, as you said, I'm Dr. Kelly Estes, and I'm running for Georgia's 8th Congressional District against Austin Scott. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm running. So, first of all, let me thank y'all for coming out. It's very cold morning. I know y'all usually get, 65 degrees here? I think I brought the cold with me, so sorry about that. Because I think it's snowing up in Atlanta. So, yeah. But luckily, I don't have to deal with that now. So that's good. So I'm a Southerner. I'm from Southern Mississippi originally. So I'm from Southern Mississippi originally. And I grew up in rural South Mississippi. And I'm from Magnolia, Mississippi. Magnolia. But yeah, so as a kid, I was a straight A student. I had straight A's all the way up from elementary all the way to high school. The one thing that I remember from my childhood is that I went to a segregated elementary school. We still did that in Mississippi even after I left. Yes. But it was an experience because all my teachers, all the administration were black folks, or were black teachers, and they poured into us so that we were well ready to take on the world. And that's the reason why I'm standing before you, is because of that educational foundation. After elementary, I went through high school, graduated salutatorian, and surprised people when I didn't go to college right after. I actually went to the military. I went to the U.S. Navy. And the reason I did that was because, first of all, I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school yet, and also I wanted to travel a little bit more before I committed to leaving Mississippi. Because before that, I had never left Mississippi. And so I didn't want that to be, I wanted to see more of the United States instead of settling. So went to the Navy, studied nuclear power, went through the nuclear power school, and part of the training was to supply power to a city in upstate New York. So as a 20-year-old, 6 months, I was supplying power to the city of West Milton, New York, as a nuclear training center. So after that, I went to my first boat. Funny story here is because in nuclear power, we had 300 graduates, but only 5 were black. And so I was one of the 5, and I went to my boat, and subsequently, when I was in the engine room, I was the only black person in the engine room, nuclear training. And it was a big shock to the folks that were there. Like, and the other sailors told me that I was a hinky unicorn, because they had never seen a black dude. So I was like, interesting. So just being in those spaces, learning what I learned and trying to deal with being the first. And so, I've learned how to navigate relationships and of course, talking about Seattle. But after that, went to school, because after I left the Navy, I went to college, got my undergrad in management, and I have an MBA in finance. And after that, I went to work for E-Trade and also G.B.R. So I was in finance at the time of the Great Recession. And so I watched people lose money. I've watched them lose their livelihoods over numbers on the screen. And so that taught me a lot about the fragility of our financial system in the United States. So with that, I understand why we are where we are today when it comes to finance. So after that, I started doing more community work. Because then I started to move into getting my PhD. And one of the drivers of the PhD was that I wanted to study poverty and understand how to eradicate it, or understand why it's so prevalent in our community. So went there, got my PhD in public policy. While I was doing that, I was serving on Georgia Equality. So one of the big bills that stopped from happening in this particular state was the Religious Freedom Bill. And that happened in 2015, and that would have opened the door for a lot of discrimination in this state. And so I worked at the Capitol with my state senator, state representatives, to stop a lot of this legislation that would have harmed Georgians. While I was doing that, I was also helping to create the city of South Fulton. And that was another legislative task that required me to work inside the Capitol. And right now, the city of South Fulton is a massive city. It's fifth largest in the state, and it's second in Fulton County. And it has a $431 million budget, and it's 107,000 people strong. And so it is thriving. So I'm really excited about that legislative feat. And so just working in the Capitol has really opened my eyes to how politics moves. And the reason why I came down to this district is, first of all, it reminds me of Mississippi, but secondly, you guys don't have a representation at all. Because Austin Scott was dodging your question. He does not talk to you guys, nor does he listen. So I'm here to tell you that I want to show up for you and make sure that I'm using my experience to get whatever y'all need. Because here's the other thing is, I've traveled the district, I've heard the same complaint. He doesn't work with us. He doesn't support us locally. And he doesn't supply us with any kind of congressional monies that we need directly for our cities and for our counties. And I've been hearing that so much. And that is something that I want to be completely different with, because our taxpayer dollars are generated for us to be used by us, not to be given to pockets of folks that don't need them. Because here's the other thing. Anytime we cut taxes, we cut services. And if nobody ever asks, well, who's going to pay for that tax? Have we ever asked that? Has anybody ever asked that question? Nobody ever asked who's going to pay for the tax cut. And so, as we're paying for these big tax cuts that happened in 2018, this is why we're having so much difficulties with affordability, healthcare, because we're trying to pay the billionaires. They're taking services by taking little community grants here. They take school funding here. They take all these little things from us to pay for their billionaire friends. And it's time for us to stop that, because anytime you elect a Republican, you vote to be robbed. That's what happens. They rob you. And so it's time for us to stand up to Republicans and say, look, no more. We're done. Because we want to invest our monies into Georgia. And one of the things that I would like to do is the GET, which is the Georgia Intrastate Train. And I want that to connect all of our large cities so that we can start to disperse Atlanta's population and say, hey, if I can get to Atlanta and work in Atlanta and live somewhere else, then I'll do that. Because then I'm also investing in those local communities and growing those local communities. Because that's what they did in the 1800s. Any of your large any of your large towns were on train tracks. So what if we off that back so that we can then say, we can take a bunch of cars off the road. We can also help protect our environment and also bring money to the state. Because there are a lot of communities that come from Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina. And y'all have to drive on the roads. And do they help pay for the roads? No, because they're paying taxes in their state. So if they get on the train, they're paying tax to the state. That's how we make money. But that's also how we connect our cities. So that a lot of us can stop spending so many hours in traffic around the city. But I will open it up to questions. If there are any questions that you guys have for me.
Questions gonna be at the end.
Okay, I'm sorry. Because I still have questions. How many minutes do I still
You
have?
wanna use that? You got 5 minutes. You can
Okay,
use
cool.
that.
So I'm gonna use that for, because I like questions.
I got you.
What's up? You go ahead.
I'm on?
You got it.
Yeah, look. James Microwell, Vice Chairman of the Brooks County Board of Commissioners, Chairman of the Democratic Party. My question to you, right now in the House and Senate, they got the bill we were talking about, property tax exemption. And I've been reading that thing, and they said no property taxes, you understand, by the year 2032. 22. Homestead exemption. Now. Small county like us, like Brooks County, that's what we depend on.
Right.
Because we don't have manufacturers and all that stuff over there. And they were talking about, you understand, now, if they cut out, that's right, the homestead exemption, where do we get the money from? I heard one thing about they can raise the sales taxes.
Right. Well, if you look at, so here's the danger of giving away property taxes, right? Property taxes have been designed to support local schools. So if you get rid of your property taxes, then you have to ask the question, well, where's that support for those schools coming from? That means that your other taxes in the state are going to go sky high because if you, they're also trying to get rid of the state income tax as well too. So if you look at Texas and Florida, they have very high sales tax, but they also have other high taxes that they pay. So they're offsetting it, right? So basically what they're saying is, yeah, we're going to get rid of that tax, but we're going to put it somewhere else, and it's going to be more of a burden on poor people. That's the whole point. Because anytime you're taking away income taxes, they're trying to take it away from their rich buddies and cut services. This is a tax cut. Cut services, tax cut. So then you're going to cut services. Now, here's the other thing that I propose is that we cut the military budget and fully fund education. Because this is why we're all fighting for all these different taxes that have to, if you're going to do all of that, if you're going to cut taxes in your state, then fine. Support someone who's going to increase the education budget so that it can filter down back to your state. So it's paying for schools instead of schools having a Game of Thrones over funding. And that's what happens today. Because again, remember I told you, tax cut, they're going to take it from somewhere else. And this is what y'all, and it happens over years so that you don't notice it. So let's stop supporting tax cuts because they're going to cut your services on top of it. And the main target has always been public education. Republicans have never liked public education because it educates the population. They'd rather have you less smart so they can manipulate you. That's the whole point. So if we're going to cut taxes for the sake of keeping people's money in their pockets, expect some services to be cut as well.
Thank you.
Kevin, moderator, I'm glad that you running this office stuff. You never see it. You vote everything down Trump,
Yep.
and you bow down to Donald Trump. So you got my support. What I can do?
Thank you.
Here, here.
So, as a congressman, I'm wanting to know, with a specific focus on rural Georgia, what are your plans for advancing small businesses, especially Black and minority-owned business, in light of a lot of DEI programs and incentives that were earmarked for that specific target group? And also, what is your plan to address the maternal mortality and infant mortality crisis here in Georgia? Because we know the statistics and they're not looking good. So I'm just wondering what your plan is.
So the rural plan. So basically, what's happening in rural Georgia is really a result of tariffs, right? And also it's a result of funding being robbed to pay for tax cuts again. See, we're always going back to tax cuts. And so as we're keep on cutting taxes, then we are going to rob funding from things like rural, you said rural small business, right? So for me, this is about propping up the SBA, and also if you're creating a train system, then you're also helping those businesses because you're basically dispersing the population from your big centers out. Because then people will be more inclined to say, you know what, I can live for less in a smaller town and then work in Atlanta. But see, we also gonna have to get rid of the big beautiful bill as well because it cut a lot of those services from those areas. And the DEI part is a function of Republicans and Donald Trump. So once he's gone, all of this stuff returns. Yeah, it returns. So basically, it's almost kind of we have to repeal all the crap that he did. That's what we're gonna have to do. We have to repeal and do end all of the crap that he did. So yeah, we have to start over basically, and that means that the 120th Congress is going to be so important for our nation's future because we are at 250 years this year. Let's look at our history and what have we created? It's a question. And so, you know, part of it is that we're going to have to reverse course and start valuing all of the talents of all of our people in the United States. And that means that we're going to have to teach differently. That means we're going to have to do things a bit differently than we do now. Maternal rates. So I'm a big person and big advocate of health. And I think a lot of that is really health driven because a lot of the people that are having children are not necessarily healthy starting out. So that's kind of what drives up the maternal rate. So I kind of want to do what Michelle Obama did, is go back to the schools, talk about nutrition, and teach children about better nutrition. And remember, she took all of that stuff out of the schools, kids learn how to eat better, and they stuck to it. And I think that's why we have a lot of children that don't want to drink sodas. You know, there's a couple of young adults that don't eat bad because of what Michelle Obama did. And I think if we, and you know, I understand what Robert Jefferson, he's trying to do, but he's not going about it the right way. He doesn't understand or know what the hell he's talking about. But I want to go back to what Michelle Obama was doing and put that program back in place because we have to teach our children better nutrition. Yeah. It starts from there. And if we continue on where we are, because a lot of the companies that we eat food from make us sick. Yeah. And they do this so they can send you to the healthcare system and make more money off of it. So, but that also comes with consequences, health consequences. It comes with not being able to survive maternity or, you know, having a child. It's also black, it's also white folks too. So everybody's suffering from the same issue. So, but we gotta get the health part. We have to start teaching children better. We also have to start. I personally don't like companies that create garbage for humans, for people, like your Kellogg's or your McDonald's. Those things are terrible for on people's bodies, and it's just we have to understand nutrition. But we also have to fund programs that, again, when you're cutting taxes, you're also defunding those programs that help those issues. And so that means that we're going to have to stop cutting taxes so that we can continue to fund those programs that are important to the population. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard you mention, I'm sorry, Carol. I heard you mention Oscar Scott. Now, he's got a lot of education in Pennsylvania.
yes.
Okay. So, just like you said, he doesn't have to show up and some money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you going to tell the agriculture community for them to give you money? You got to understand, a lot of the farming industry lost money.
Yes, it did.
So you got to bring that up.
Yes, it did.
They have lost money.
Mm-hmm.
All the money that was going to China, they lost it all. It's not coming back.
Nope. Not even
So you got to remind them,
Yes.
this man signed that bill.
Took your customers away.
Exactly. And all the farming industries are going out of business. And corporations are buying them up. You got it.
Yeah. But that,
So what are you going to tell the agriculture community? Pay you and not him.
well, see, here's the thing. See, I think at this point they're kind of seeing the proof of, or the results of them voting for Donald Trump and Republicans. Because they have to understand that, look, I'm here.
It's not, but here's the thing. They vote Republican all the way.
No,
It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you have.
But see, this is what we have to
that you have to get
Yeah,
the
but this-
agriculture community
Mm-hmm.
to get them to get behind you.
Yes. But
Yeah, but you
but
did the
we
same.
have to, yeah, but we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic and say, look, Republicans have cost you your customers, and they have proof in the pudding right there. So my thing is that if I'm not understanding that the person that I voted for brought me here, I'm not sure what I can tell them. So, but again, I have to offset those people with other, I have to offset those farmers with other people to get them to support me. Because this is a big issue. It's a very big issue.
Yes, you have to
Yeah,
go to
but
other countries and sell them what Georgia's trying to sell.
of course, but we have to also ensure that we create new relationships. And that means without a tyrant. So if we don't have a tyrant sitting in our White House, we wouldn't have to worry about that as much. That's the problem. See, and I am all for impeachment because this guy is ruining all of our relationships around the world. Yes, exactly. But that's why I'm running against Austin Scott, so we can get rid of him as well. But the morale in the Republican Party is low, extremely low, because people have lost things. People have lost their livelihoods, some people have lost their lives, and there are a lot of people who have lost their money. So are you really going to continue to support the party that cost you your livelihood and your money, and now you're killing Americans with ICE? Does that make sense? Now, if you want to,
It's them, not me.
exactly. But we have to make it plain to them, and I think that's what we have not been doing. And so I'm like, look, these are your options. Because under Biden, y'all had customers. Under Trump, you lost all your customers. So you either want to continue on with no customers, or you want to have people who can bring those customers back. That's the question that they have to answer themselves. That's it.
That's it. So you're obviously are behind lowering tariffs, so that way the farming community can.
Dude, tariffs were always a terrible idea.
Oh, they've always.
Yeah,
no surprise.
Yeah, but they cheered them on because they didn't know what they were. Now they figured out what they were,
Yeah.
and now we're in a situation where you don't have customers anymore. And so if you're going to continue on supporting the person that got rid of all your customers, that don't seem like a very smart idea, now does it?
He got voted twice, man.
Yeah, well, let's move on.
I want to get, I got mind you, there are two other candidates.
Right.
Two other candidates out. We, once we get him rolling, we can get this conversation rolling, but we want to give other people a chance to talk. Thank you.
We got
We all understand how important it is to make sure we change over Congress, right?
That's right.
Now, we also got to make sure that rooms like this are packed when we bring candidates down here. So without come down here again, let's make sure the room is triple the size as far as make sure the whole building is filled up. Because that's the only way we're gonna really change it and get Rick or whatever his name out of that seat. He should have been out of that seat a long time ago. All right. With that being said, the next person I'm bringing forward is Richard Wright. He is running for lieutenant governor. Can you give him a hand? Come on.
Good morning, everyone. Let me say this again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Richard Wright, and I am running for Lieutenant Governor of Georgia. And before I go into telling everyone about my wonderful self, I want everyone to repeat after me. Say, I am important. My views matter. Everyone in this room is important. If no one's told you that you're important today, let me be the first person to tell you that. It's critical that we have motivated Democrats, not only in Atlanta, but in South Georgia as well. And so just a little bit about me. I moved to Georgia in 1997, and I moved with my GED from North Carolina. I moved out here to be a rapper. But no one signed me. No one signed me. Jermaine, Rico, Wade, RP Rico, so as you can tell in my voice, I'm still a little bit mad about that. So I was working at the airport, Hartsfield, Concourse D, Burger King, for $6.25 an hour. Still remember it. And I'll tell you a little story, because you know, you got family now. We're all family. When I was working at the airport, I got fired. The airport, right, for Burger King, right? They give you food cards where you could charge up, I think like $9 worth of food on a card. So what did I do? Did I do the responsible thing? No, I didn't. I went back for a whole month with this card in charge of food. I did. As you see, the doctor here, he's a polished version of what a politician is. Me, I'm an unpolished version in my youth. And so that's how I believe I'm able to connect with people, is because you know, I struggle. And so I was just talking with my mom, and my mom is a straight shooter. She was a real straight shooter. She said, you know, you need to go to college. I said, well, I dropped out of high school. Well, I'm not really college material. And so then she reiterated that you need to go to college. Right? So I took a gamble. I went to a small school called Herzog College. Small school. It was blessed, to be honest with you. It wasn't me. I'm a Christian. I like to beat people on top of the head, but I got blessed to be able to go to school to get my undergraduate degree. I got blessed again to be able to go to get my MBA. Then I got blessed again to pass the CPA exam. Then I got blessed again for a fourth time to be able to attend Georgetown Law. So it was when you're doing it, you don't understand kind of what you're doing because you just pass the exams and you kind of matriculate through life as a young individual, kind of struggling and hitting your head up against the wall. I grew up in a single parent home. I didn't have my dad, so some of the lessons that went on in life I had learned the hard way, right? But still got blessed and was able to end up at Georgetown. And so the question is that why am I running? What is my platform as your next lieutenant governor? And the platform is affordability, civility, and visionary leadership. And I go in reverse chronological order. With visionary leadership, today's reality is a result of yesterday's actions. And the promise of tomorrow is a result of today's actions. And so as a leader, you just can't craft things for the moment. You gotta craft things for the future, right? Because the future's gonna be here, and we should be prepared for it. And I have I hopefully I gave everybody a flyer. And on the flyer, it's teaching terrific 2-year-olds, because things are about the future. So I believe that education should start at 2. Right? That's what I believe. I believe that I want people, kids, on no matter race, creed, income, stack, parents' income, to start at the same level. And I know that's ambitious, but I want kids to start at the same level. And so I believe 2 years old is where we need to start at. But also, this is a workforce issue, because I want parents working, right? And so if you have to spend an exorbitant amount of your income on childcare, right, then you can't work, right? It's not the math doesn't math, right? And so to invest in the teaching terrific 2-year-olds, what I want is for the state to start subsidizing working parents working parents who are in an educational endeavor. That could be a trade program, that could be 2 years, that could be getting your PhD, right? Because the return on investment is critical. And return on investment is just ROI, return on investment. Individuals who have a college degree versus a high school degree make about $900,000 more over a lifetime. Right? And so if you just take the sales tax of 7% times 900,000, you get 63,000, right? And so this person who's in this program is going to make 900,000, is going to pay in sales tax about $63,000 over their lifetime. Well, daycare for 2-year-olds is about $11,000 a year, right? So if it's subsidized by the parent for $2,000, right? We have $9,000 for 2, $9,000 for 3, right? That's $18,000. But we've allowed someone to be able to work, to be able to get their degree or a scholastic endeavor, and so they're going to pay us back $63,000. That's an investment. That's a return on investment, right? And so we're going to have ideas like this. We're crafting ideas because this is helping the current parent who is working and getting their education, and just as important is helping the child, because that's what we want. We want future generations to be educated, because that's how you bring industry here, right? We don't need to bring people in from California and New York, where we have educated individuals here in South Georgia, in Valdosta. Next is civility. But I tell you, this is a tough word nowadays, isn't it? Right? It's hard to be civil. At least that's why politicians make it seem like it is. And the pendulum swings, doesn't it? It swings left and it swings right. But we want the pendulum to stop in the middle. Because that's where the census is. That's where most of us are, in the middle. And so we're going to have to really, as voters, on both sides of the aisle, come to the realization that people who we send to local, state, and federal, when they see a fire, are they going to go there and pour gasoline on it? Are they going to go there and pour water on it? That's a fundamental question. And so that's part of being civil, is understanding that we need to build consensus. And so I move on to affordability. Just being a CPA, I know a little bit about money. And a lot of issues that we're having right now, affordability, are due to a number of issues. We need affordable housing, right? We need to have a strategic plan for tariffs. Right? The gentleman here talked about farmers. We have a strategic plan to say, hey, when inflation goes up, is there a trigger that instead of just being only able to use the gate card, you get an income tax credit? I think these are ideas that we need to start pushing forward. But also, going back to a previous point about education, sometimes, and I've been a part of it as a young individual, right? Sometimes affordability is skill set. Because the more you make, the more you know, the more people pay you. And I learned that myself. The more education I got, the more somebody's willing to pay me. And so challenging our young people, right, to be able to gain a skill set, to be able to go into society, right? Because we need to talk to young people. I see this room and you have brilliant individuals in here, but I like to see more young people in here, right? But we need to reach out to young people. People are 18 years old, guess what they be doing in May, in November, or they have the opportunity to do, and that's vote. So we need to be in these schools right now, talking to people, talking to kids, right? Because they need to know these things, and some of that conversation has to be an honest conversation. And I remember telling my mother, I want to be a rapper, Mom. I had never been a CPA in my life. Never. So how can I be something, how can I dream of something I never saw? And that's what's going on with a lot of people, with a lot of kids, especially minority children. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running, is just so that a lot of times, like educated individuals, we go to the mountains, right? But the treasures in the valley. So you gotta go talk to people. You gotta go talk to young people, let them know, hey, you know, I dropped out of high school, right? But you can't drop out of life, because life is gonna be here, right? And so this is what I did. This is what I want you to do, and I'll hold your hand. I'll challenge you as a young person. Because young people need to be challenged. They need to be challenged all the time. They need to be challenged. But I'll guide you. I'll walk with you through the process, because I wish somebody had done that for me. Right? And so if I wanted to see change, I gotta be some change, don't I? Right? If I want the community to be better, right? You gotta invest in the community, go into the community, and talk with the community. And so definitely excited to be here. I know that the road to victory is going to come through South Georgia.
That's right.
The road to victory
Amen
is
for
going
that.
to come through South Georgia. Now, we can hang, you know, we can hang in Atlanta. Right? All you want to, but the road to victory goes. But you can move up. People who are running are going to have to do this what I'm doing, this is what Ulta's doing, this is what the doctor is doing. They have to come down here and talk to people. You got to go hear people. Politics is local.
That's right.
Politics is local, right? So I plan on being a state official with a local ear, and that's critical. And so I'll be respectful and I'll let Ulta go. But if you say you write your questions down, everybody write your questions down. 'Cause I love to answer because I think that once we really send the right Democrat up there to the dome, that 2030 we can take the majority back. Well, I think people need to see a Democrat govern effectively. That's what they need to see. Since Purdue, when he took over, every Republican stood, every former Democrat switched, including like Governor Deal and the rest of them switched. So they didn't win the majority back, right? And so in 2030, that's what 26 is about. It's about vision. We got to first attack in 2026 and lay the groundwork for the majority in 2030. It ain't gonna happen, but people have to see a Democrat in a position of power. Governor, there's 3 positions. Not to do too much talk, but there's 3 positions. There's the governor, there's the lieutenant governor, who is the president of the Georgia Senate.
That's right.
That's what the lieutenant governor is. He's the president of the Georgia Senate. And then you have the speaker of the House.
Right.
Right? We need 91 House members to get the speakership. Right? We don't have that. Right? The governorship is a shining object. I hope I'm gonna work tirelessly. And I mean tirelessly to make sure we have a Democratic government.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Tirelessly. Right? But still, what position? And so the lieutenant governor is something that I plan on not being a radical activist, but someone who's going there with a civil tone, with a consensus building agenda that is beneficial for both rural Georgia and urban Georgia.
Right.
And that's the goal. So I'll write your questions down. I'll look back and answer them. I'll respectfully hand the mic over to John.
Thank y'all. Let's give both a hand.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Awesome. I'm Ulta Thornton, candidate for state school superintendent. So here's what I'm going to tell you who I am, what the state superintendent does, and what I plan on doing. Number one, I'm Ulta Thornton from Elberton, Georgia, which is up in northeast Georgia. I'm a native Georgian. My family's been in Georgia since about 1793. So we're deep rooted in Georgia. I graduated from Elbert County High, went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and part of family tradition is military. So I ended up I said I was going to do 4 years, but I ended up doing 21. So I had a great military career. Great career. I had one combat tour in Iraq, and one of the highlights of my career, I served as Director of Human Resources for President Obama, his communication teams, and also President Bush. So I was selected and I served with both of them for a couple of years. After I retired, I was very involved in education. As far as I have 2 adult children. One's a professor at Spelman, and one's a comptroller for the Navy in New Jersey. So I stayed on as far as school because education is passport to our future and our kids' future. And I'm gonna get very practical so we can, I understand policy, taking down to the people, from DC all the way down to Valdosta in our local school district. So in saying that, I remember I think I was about 2005, I moved from Germany to Maryland. I went to my daughter's and son's high school's first PTA meeting. When I walked in the room, there were 7 people, there, 7 parents. The problem with that is there were 2,000 kids in the school. So the post commander, over 30,000 people, being in the military, he just read my name tag, and they said, hey, what are we going to do about this? We need more parents involved. He looked at me and said, what are we going to do about this? I said, sir, I just got here 30 days ago. He asked me a second time. So I became the vice president at PTS. I was voluntold. So what we needed to do, the big thing in school systems, is parental or guardian involvement. So I worked very hard with the school, and we moved from about 20 parents being deeply involved to about 400 over the course of 18 months. That caught the attention of the school superintendent, and he said, I want you to serve on our creating high-performing high schools. So I got on that committee, and what we did was we had about 12 high schools in that district. And each high school had a specific theme. My high school was Homeland Defense. So what we did was we connected with government agencies, tech companies, and the University of Maryland, and we actually created a curriculum between the district and the state of Maryland. And if you go to U.S. and World News Report today, those high schools that we designed, we had an engineer high school, International Baccalaureate high school, we had a vocational high school, and any kid in the school district could go to any school based upon their interests. And they started the interest around middle school. People, how can we get kids engaged now? They rank in the top 150 schools in the high schools in the nation. So those are some of the things in Georgia, some practical things that we can do now. The state school superintendent. The state school superintendent is the chief executive officer of the state. Have oversight over 181 school districts, including the 3 here in Valdosta. Oversight, budget, again, helping where we can, bringing in resources from DC and from the state to the school districts, and also policies. Now, currently in administration, we hear about the current administration cutting out the Department of Education, affecting things. Some of the biggest things they affected was the Department of Education Civil Rights Division. So what that means is if you have a child in the school system that runs into a problem, say your school board does not handle it properly, then it comes to the State Board of Education. The superintendent is one of the 16 members of the State Board of Education. You have 14 representatives representing congressional districts, the teacher of the year, and the superintendent. So if there's a policy issue or problem, we would address that issue. Now, in the past, if we did not handle it properly, it would go to the Department of Education, which I personally worked with 3 Department of Education secretaries. Lamar Alexander, he was a Republican. I worked with Arnie Duncan and John King as far as the national level policy. So that being said, it doesn't go to federal anymore. If it's handled down here incorrectly, it's just handled incorrectly because they don't have the folks to handle it at that level anymore. So with that being said, the oversight of the budget, and guess what? Who pays taxes in here? I heard this. Everyone raise your hand if you pay taxes. Okay, good. Last year, the budget for the state of Georgia was $38.7 billion. Guess how much education's budget, a part of it was? $15 billion. And if you look at your property taxes, if you look at your taxes that you pay, a lot of that goes towards the school systems. So we need someone in office that understands that at every level and can help ensure that funds and resources are shared fairly and properly over the system. I can do that from the experiences that I have now. Currently, I am an educator. I work, I do things around the state of special needs kids and workforce development between 9th grade and 21, teaching them interviewing skills, effective listening, just different skills. I do that a couple of days a month. I've been a professor at Michigan Tech University. I've taught at Athens Technical College as a communications instructor. So I have every level as far as education and the evolution. So that's going to be very important. I was a National Parent Teacher Association president. So I had 50 states working with governors, secretaries of education around the country and U.S. schools around the world on a military basis. So I have an extensive background and some great ideas we can bring to Georgia. Now, I tell people, a lot of politicians, I'm a public servant, they get elections and governance mixed up. You know, on the campaign trail, they say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. No, when you step inside that seat, then you got governance, you gotta work the wickets and things, that structural things that have been set in place. And I've been doing the work. Like I was talking this morning about, you know, mental illness. That's a serious issue in our school system, the increase in violence, attacks on teachers, staffs. That's very important. So about 3 years ago, I worked with the state of Georgia, the Assembly, to get $300 million to invest in mental health issues and matters. So we'll continue to work those type matters. Now, here's what I want to do. Now I'll open it for questions. Number one, I want to get the funding formula for Georgia increased. Okay, I've worked with legislators to do that, but our funding formula, everybody if you work in here, imagine getting a job and you've been there since 1985 and you haven't got a pay raise. Would that work for you? Okay, that's the education formula in Georgia. They set it up in 1985, and there were some faults in that system, and we still operate on that formula. So last year when I was dealing with the governor and the state legislature, and we were able to get $200 million more, and they sort of falsely said, hey, we are fully funding the schools. No, you're not. You're operating on 85 formula. We need more than $200 million. And I said to the governor and the legislators, I said, we can find $1 billion to give to a corporation to come here. We can find $500 million to help make sure our schools are together. So that's number one, updating the formula. The second thing is literacy. In Georgia right now, 1 out of 3 of our children are reading on a proficient level. 1 out of 3, that's not acceptable. Okay, I was from Mississippi here this morning, saying, look, Mississippi, they made major increases in their literacy over the last couple of years. Can't we look around and see best practices to make things happen? One of the advantages I have as a past National PTA president, every summer in July, I sit down to be a judge for schools of excellence. So I see the best practices, and those are some of the things I can share with the superintendents and school systems to make things happen. For folks in rural counties, to give you an example, several years ago in Georgia, we had an issue with broadband. Kids, had an opportunity to get Wi-Fi, different things like that. One state I went in, the rural school district, they got a bus, they wired it up to provide Wi-Fi, and they would drive the bus into that community after hours, and then the kids in that neighborhood will have Wi-Fi in the rural area. So there's so many great ideas that we can incorporate. And last thing, I'll stop, to be respectful, parent accountability, parent and guardian accountability. I'm actually working with Representative Holly, Georgia Federation of Teachers, who has endorsed me already for the race. We got a bill, we're working through a system called Parent Accountability for Student Success. With the increase in violence and things, we're saying if a kid is disrupted in a 25 or 30 person class, the teacher has done everything she can do to help this child, but that child attacks a teacher or an administrator, the parent or the guardian has to come to school by law. Not for punitive, but hey, we got a counselor here, we got a problem. Let's handle this problem right now, and if they blow it off, I think the next level is, okay, you're ready to be charged to do some community service. So we're working through that bill now with legal, but we gotta get the parents back involved in engaged in the school. I'm gonna stop right now. The last thing I'm gonna say, I'll open it for questions. It takes funds to run campaigns. So please, I ask that you donate. Everyone has a card, has a QR code, or we take checks. But in order to get our message out, and what usually happens, corporations and wealthy people, they have the money to finance messaging, but they have no real intentions. I'm a retired colonel, and I tell people I'm not for sale. I am what you see and what I say, and I keep my word. So let's do this.
Amen.
Okay, stop any questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the floor is open for questions for either Richard or for Ultra at this time.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm a current educator right here in the city, and teacher retention is a huge deal across the nation,
Yes, ma'am.
especially here in our rural areas.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you have a plan that you're ready to push out to support teachers, to motivate students to go into teaching,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
to stay there, because it's really been rough.
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. Now, teachers, like I said, the school system is usually foundations for community. If you have a poor school system, businesses are not going to come to your school system. Come to your county. So with that being said, some things that I have proposed and talked to superintendents and local leaders about is providing like tax incentives for teachers for first-time home buying programs. Okay, they currently have a bill right now. It might have passed. I think Governor Kim will have to sign it into law. They asked for teachers to get a $10,000 raise over a 4-year period. Okay, so $2,500 a year for 4 years. Now, that's an election year. You see what I'm saying? So it's going to happen. So how, homeownership, that's a very important thing because it provides that stability and initial wealth building for teachers. So I think that's one thing. Second thing is we talk about proper raises, proper salary. And the third thing goes back to, they passed a law in Georgia about 3 years ago called, divisive concepts law. So basically, they sort of limited telling teachers what you can and cannot teach. Okay, there are standards that everyone should have, and the curriculum is determined by the Board of Education. But there was a problem with, we don't really teach slavery, or just gloss over different things in history. But in order to understand history, you must understand all sides. So those are some of the things. Letting teachers have their classroom back. So some teachers are really concerned about, well, can I teach this? Can I no. Teachers should be, let me back up. My personal philosophy on education is, and Benjamin May said it best, the purpose of education is first to build character, second to earn a living, and third to serve humanity. That's what we should be teaching our kids to do. Her and you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is Wood running again?
Yes, he is reluctantly.
I want you to know that my granddaughter, who is in 5th grade in Palm County, was just tested for her reading. She's at 12.31.
That's awesome.
And they're doing a great job in one school out of 3 elementary schools. And I'd love to see the 2 other ones come up to her level.
From what I understand, the Republicans are forcing him to run because they don't want a MAGA person to take his place. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how are you going to ensure that South Georgia, with you speaking about internet access, making sure that, lobbying effectively for broadband internet access, high-speed internet throughout South Georgia, because that's still a disparity with us in comparison to the rest of the state?
Well, first, as a state school superintendent in a constitutional office and being a platform, those are some of the things I could address. And actually now, as we speak, I actually work with superintendents in rural areas around Georgia to bring in additional resources. For example, who served the Bud McCall grant here in Wyoming? Okay. The Bud McCall Grant is a funded program in Georgia where if you have a special needs child with a IEP or 504 in the state of Georgia, the state of Georgia will give them a $17,000 grant for 4 years after they graduate. That's a grant, not a loan. So if you have a special needs child, they have, in the University of Georgia, Georgia State, and other universities actually have programs for them to go to school. So, yes ma'am. Working with the superintendent, there's 181. I have a great relationship with the executive director of the Georgia State School Superintendents Association. So I'm able to get information and share and get resources to school districts accordingly. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Instead of paying attention to a lot of the good ideas that you have articulated today, the Georgia legislature in recent years has been attacking transgender people and passing bills that do that. How will you work to protect those young people and expand the protections for them in Georgia schools?
So, sir, the way I'll answer that question is, we have 1.8 million students. When a student enters a public school door, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that we take care of them, and that we provide the resources for them to be successful. But I do understand that they're attacking kids across the board: African American kids, Asian kids, Hispanic kids, and I've done things that have tried to block some of the things they've tried to do. But sir, like I said, every child that enters that door, I want them to be treated with dignity and respect, because they're human beings first. We're all human beings first. That's my take on that, sir. Any others? Yes, sir.
It's a two-part question. I understand that will you be willing to increase the teacher's starting salary to match the median Georgia household
Georgia.
income?
Okay, sir. So here's something that everyone keep this in mind. And people talk about taxes. Okay, with taxes, they're trying to take away the property tax now. Now, like I said, most school systems rely on that. Now, let's talk from every level. Most of your education funding comes 80% from your community. Okay, 20% comes from the state and federal level. So what's going on right now, and I'm actually in a big battle right now with these vouchers. 3 years ago, they passed a thing called the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act. And when they passed it, the messaging was, we want to help special needs children out, so let's pass this bill. They passed the bill, that was a Trojan horse. And then the next year, Lieutenant Governor Jones came and said, we're going to open it to any student that was at a failing school for $6,500. That is a trick to drain money, it's a scam, out of the public school system. And we have to fund the public school system. And we're right now fighting, trying to get a referendum on the ballot in November so that the people can vote on it and tell them, we don't want you taking money out of our schools. I don't have to stop it. Public schools, that's correct. So I'm going to turn over to Mr. Rivers. Thank you all. I'll be here to answer any questions. And sir, thank you for your question. I'll answer any additional after this.
Can we just applaud all of our candidates for being here with us today? And can we, while we're applauding, could we applaud our local Democratic Party for being here? This has been a great day, and thank you, candidates, for being here. To my buddy, my friend, my brother, Jay Jones, for bringing this event to us. Can we give us a great round? Just really excited about the momentum that we feel that is building here in Lowndes County. Thankful for all. I serve as the Congressional District Chair of CD8 for the Democratic Party of Georgia, and I also serve as Senator Warnock's Outreach Director here in South Georgia, so really excited to be here. Very thankful for all the other chairs that were able to come and fellowship and be a part of this day, so thank you. And thank Big Nick again. Can we give it up for Big Nick? For his wonderful food and just opening his doors for us. So a couple things that will happen. You get an opportunity to go to the tables and speak to any of our candidates. Do us a favor and just thank them again for coming and being a part, coming to our community. And get information. You can give them your local party to get any information regarding local elections and when election days are. And I would encourage you to get involved in your local party. Very important, all right? If we're going to build capacity and momentum, we need bodies. So I'm asking that you be a part, you join and be a part of the work that they're doing. And again, thank you so much for being here, taking our time for your Saturday. And listen, these are going to continue. So we're going to have more. If you don't follow the Lowndes County Democratic Party page, do me a favor, go and follow the page. Join their mailing list because all information will come through the local party. Appreciate you. Hope you guys have an amazing day. And we thank you for being here.
Thank you.